Hey guys, Brony General here, back with another video, and today I'm going to be giving you a little story. So let me flip the camera around here. Hi. Today I'm going to be telling you the story of my first computer. Now my first computer, I'm not talking about the first computer that my grandparents bought for me. That's a different story. I'm talking about the first computer that I obtained via my own means, via my own skill and expertise to get a hold of it. You know, I got it myself. And if we're talking about that, I got my first computer I'd say it's been about 3 years now. Yeah, about 3 years. And it was a hand-me-down computer from a teacher of mine named Mr. Erasmus. It was and is an HP Pavilion 6330 Mini ATX Tower, running now nothing, and at the time it ran Windows 2000 Professional. It was designed for Windows 98, but I got it with Win2K Pro on it. Now the computer was interesting. It has a very interesting story, and it's a story that I still have no idea about. So the computer was sitting in Mr. Rasmus's garage, in this this little corner where it was kind of forgotten about for a lot of years. And so when he found out that I was getting into these older computers, he saw it and, he was like, hey, I've got this computer. I don't have any peripherals to it. You want it? So obviously I took the opportunity to get my hands on a real old computer, because at the time, the only computer that I was really using was a fake Windows 3 era computer. It was an HP thin client. It ran Windows 3 off flash memory. But this HP Pavilion 6330, it was in okay shape, even at the time. I got it home that day, and I was so excited. So I took the side cover off, popped the cover on the computer, and I noticed something. Already inside, it was full of spider webs, cobwebs, whatever. And it was so dusty, so I got an air cleaner, I dusted it out, put it together, and mind you, I didn't have what I have today. I didn't have, CRT galore. I didn't have a bunch of PS2 keyboard and mice. I didn't have anything for this computer. I didn't have a PS2 keyboard and mouse, and this computer did not support USB keyboard and mouse. So the first time I ever booted it up, I had a Dell flat screen. It was at least a 1080p monitor. It was an LED monitor that I had used with a computer prior to that one. It was pretty much my grandparents'. It was a Dell. It was technically mine, but I didn't get it. But anyway, so I boot this computer up for the first time, and so it goes through its whole checklist, and surprisingly the CMOS battery was still good. And I remember the first time it showing that splash screen, Windows 2000 Professional, and I was excited and confused, because mind you, I hadn't been into computers very long. I didn't know much about them. So when I saw Windows 2000 Pro, when I was expecting Windows 98, I was just like, what? Because I'd never heard of Windows 2000 before. So I was just taken aback by it for a little bit. So it boots into the operating system, and I'm getting really excited, and I notice something. It boots up, and there's a password lock on this computer, and it's registered to Mr. Rasmus's oldest son, Lawrence. But it has a password lock on it, and I couldn't get into it even if I knew the password at the time, because I didn't have a PS2 keyboard and mouse. So I got quick to ordering one. I remember paying about $8.38 for this, and I don't know how I remember the price so exactly, but I paid $8.38 for a keyboard and mouse, PS2 keyboard and mouse, and it was the cheapest keyboard, cheap little optical mouse. They really sucked. But they worked for the time, and mind you, today I would just go out to the thrift store if I didn't have stuff like this, and I would just go and pick it up for a couple bucks. But at the time, I hadn't discovered the beauty. I hadn't discovered thrift stores yet. I didn't know about them yet. So I I didn't really think of that. So I remember I waited probably about a week, get the keyboard and mouse, and I spent all day trying to figure out the password on this thing. I tried everything. I tried some password bypasses and whatever else, and nothing worked. So I took the next step, and I called, well, I didn't call, but my Aunt Samantha's friend, Maylene, who knows a bit about computers, came over to help. And she was unable to get the password unlock as well. There was tons of back doors she tried and everything. This computer was secured. There was no way into this thing. So I ordered a Windows 2000 Pro reinstalled disk on the internet, which I don't have my original one before anymore. I lost that one, sadly, but I can at least show you the one I have now. Right here, as you can see, Windows 2000, and this is my third Windows 2000 disk. I have another one like this somewhere in the house, and then I have my original one, and I have the box to that one somewhere. But so I get this disk, and I wait another few days. It arrives, and so I go through the Windows 2000 installation process, and this is my first time setting up Windows. So I get through the install for the first time, and I am just like beaming with joy this entire time. I'm just like, oh my god, this is so cool. You know, so I get the computer, boot it into Windows 2000 for the first time. I get speakers plugged into it, everything. And I remember the first time I actually booted to the desktop, and it was the most amazing thing. Most amazing thing ever. And so let me describe the setting for you guys. So at the time, I had carpet in my room. This dresser was up against this wall right here. Did not have this desk. I had a fairly small white desk that I had had since I was in kindergarten, or before that even. I had a bunch of pictures and different stuff up on the wall. I didn't have any of this stuff. I did not have this TV. In fact, I didn't have a tube at all. I had a 48-inch Samsung flat screen TV in my room at the time. Or no, was it a Samsung? I think it was a Samsung. I want to say it was a Samsung. But no, wait, I had a 22-inch Samsung, or not Samsung. It was a Magnavox LCD TV in here at the time, actually. So I had that, and I had my monitor. I had my bed was right here, I want to say. So I didn't have any of the stuff I have now. And I remember, I heard that startup sound, and oh my god, I nearly exploded in joy. Oh my god. I got it booted into the operating system, and I noticed something right away. The colors did not look right. The colors didn't look right. And mind you, I was still early in computers. I didn't know what drivers were yet. The computer had a NVIDIA GeForce 4 64 meg PCI video card, and that was no joke for its time. Installed in Windows 2000, did not have the drivers to properly install for it. I didn't have any drivers really installed on it. I didn't have USB drivers installed. It didn't have the graphics card. It didn't have the Ethernet or the modem installed. None of that. So for the longest time, I thought that my computer was supposed to only be able to accept 640 by 480 resolution. Or no, excuse me, 800 by 600 resolution maximum. I thought 16 color maximum was the standard back in the 90s because I didn't know at the time. I wasn't keen to these big CRTs. I wasn't keen to these computers and working on them. I knew nothing at the time. So anyway, I go on doing stuff, and I didn't really have much on the computer at the time. I basically I would screw around with Paint, and I would listen to CDs since it had a CD drive on it. And I'll have to get the thing out from my school because it's in service at my school right now. I'm going to have to get it over here so I can actually show this computer to you. And you guys have seen it in videos before, but it has been years since you guys have seen it, but some of my older subscribers might recognize it when they see it. But anyway, so time goes on and I'm just messing around with paint, and then I decide so. And then, no, actually, Mr. Erasmus, he says, hey, I've got this copy of Windows 98, I found, and if you want it, it's yours. So obviously I'm like, yes, of course. I could always use Windows 98. So I get Windows 98, and I remember installing it on the computer, and, the different startup sound, and nothing still looked right. And then for a while, now I get my first CRT monitor, and I don't have that one anymore, but I have one similar to it. Let me get it up for you here. So here's pretty much the closest thing I have to my original CRT. It's a different model than my original, but it's similar enough. This is like it. It's a black Dell CRT from the Windows XP era. And I remember my old one being so sharp. I remember it being clear as day. And anyway, I get my first CRT in that time, and I also figure out about myabandonware.com, and that's when I was starting to figure out thrifting. So I figure all this out, and by now, I get a new desk. It's just brown. It's more of a table than anything. And originally, I had it sitting over there in the corner, sitting up against the wall right there. Had the black Dell monitor, and you'll see this setup in a video. If you want to go see this, the time that I had this exact setup, you can go see the video on my channel. It's way back. It's called My New, and in parentheses, and Old Equipment. You'll see the setup, and I believe it's also in the video things I usually don't upload, which, warning, I'm a son of a bitch in that video. I hate the person that I used to be, just a fair thing to say about myself. So just take that person that I used to be with a grain of salt, but you'll see the computer in that video. But anyway, so now I decided to take the computer apart, and the reason I hadn't done it already was because of the fact that since it was old and I had never handled vintage old computers before, I had no idea what I was doing. I did not want to touch it and end up risking screwing something up. So I take it apart and I take all the cards out, and I look on the back and I see, where it says NVIDIA GeForce, and I have that card around here somewhere. I just don't know where it is. Actually, I think I do know where it is. I'm going to go get it.